Welcome to the LeaderTreks Youth Ministry Trainingcast with Doug Franklin, where we help youth workers like yourself be intentional.
Welcome to the LeaderTreks Youth Ministry Trainingcast. Really glad you're with us. My name's Doug, and this is...
I'm Dan.
We're the two Ds, and we're really glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk about developing adults that can build relationships with students. I know this is a really important topic. There's a lot of times when you walk into that youth room and you see those adults standing against the wall and their arms are like this and they're holding the wall up, and you're thinking to yourself, I want my adults to build relationships with students. I want them to jump all in with them. And they tend to stand along the walls and enforce rules. Don't go to the bathroom now. We're not going to the bathroom. Go sit down. And you're thinking to yourself, this is killing the youth ministry. We get it. We see it all the time. We want our adults to be able to have relationships with students. And the problem is oftentimes they're a little scared. They don't really know how to do it. And for us, it comes naturally, but it doesn't for them. So Dan, why is it important for our adult volunteers to be in relationship, to go beyond logistics and do relationship development with students?
Yeah, well, first off, we know that as just the youth pastor, you're not big enough or have enough time or enough bandwidth to have a transformational relationship with every student in the ministry,
Yep.
Right? And so the reason why we have adults is not just to flip pancakes, to drive the bus, to show up and tell kids what not to do. We have adults in the ministry to do ministry, to be like us, right? And to have that same heart. And so in order to do that, they need to be effective at building relationships with students. It's the foundation of every great youth ministry, right? We can have programs up the wazoo, but if we don't have relationships with our students, it doesn't really matter.
I went to Wazoo once. It wasn't very good.
It's not a great place.
No. So how do we do that? I mean, we've got these students and we want to develop relationships. How do we train our adult volunteers to build those relationships?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is getting our adults to overcome some of those fears, right? By introducing even easy techniques of getting to know not only their names, but remembering their names, walking them through like simple questions like what's your favorite movie? What do you love to do? Kind of connecting in that way. Students are very personal, right? They're very much at the end of the day like about themselves too. And so adults building that relationship and focusing on the student is a really, really big deal.
And students have a favorite subject. It is themselves.
Correct.
And if we know that, then we can actually use that to build a relationship with them by asking them questions about themselves, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to ask students questions about themselves. We're going to find out what they love to do, where they love to eat, what's their favorite music, what's their favorite game, what's their family life like, what are they doing well at school, what are some of their struggles, what are some of their fears. So we do all that. And how do we do it? Do you have like a strategy that you use to build this relationship with students?
So, one of the things obviously we've been talking a lot about lately is this idea of the importance of empathy in youth ministry, right? And empathy is being able to see things from another person's perspective, being others focused with their best in mind. As an adult volunteer building a relationship with a student, that's the perspective I have to take. I have to take their perspective. And what we do when we train adults on building relationships is we use that perspective. And so we say, listen, what we need to do is we need to answer the 4 cries of a student's heart, to try to place ourselves in their shoes and see the world through their eyes. So there's 4 things that we've identified that every student's heart is calling out to the world and calling out to adults who are in their lives. So the first thing is spend time with me. It's so crucial that we as adult volunteers recognize that students actually want to spend time with us, right? And that when we pursue them, when we say, hey, I would love to get to know you, I'd love to spend time with you, they jump at the opportunity. I recently had this where I called up one of my students, and I've been thinking through starting a guys discipleship group, and to me, I'm like, is that going to be cool to them? Are they going to want to show up? And I just called him up. I'm like, hey, I want to have a guys discipleship group. Would you want to come? And he literally, on the phone, I could feel him jumping. He's like, yes, I want to come. I want to be there. They want to spend time with us because when we spend time together, it deepens our relationship. We get to know them more and more and more.
And I think they know it's our greatest commodity right now. Everybody is so busy. Time is a really valuable commodity. And when you want to spend time with them, I think it's a big win. Okay, so spend time with me. What's the second cry of a student's heart?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier the favorite subject of every student is
themselves,
right? And so they want us to discover them. Okay, their heart is crying out, discover me, find out everything about me. I actually want to tell you. Even though it may seem at times like they're brick walls and they're stone-faced and they're just like, I'm good, don't talk to me. They want us to discover them. And so in this area, in this step, we always train adult volunteers to ask 100 questions. All right? Now that does not mean that we have a list of a literal 100 questions, like focus on number 87 because it's a real winner, right? Yeah. The idea is that we would just ask a ton of questions of students. And those questions can start at a very surface level. One of my favorite questions always to ask a student, because there's always an answer, is what's your favorite movie, right? And they'll always have an answer. The idea with the surface level question is it's super easy to get in, right? And don't just make it a yes or no question, but give them space to answer that. You don't start off a conversation with a student by being like, well, so what's your greatest sin you're dealing with right now? And they're like, this is weird and I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, or what's a secret you've never told somebody else?
Please tell me now, you can trust me. It's super weird, right? So you start at that surface level, but our goal as we're discovering students is obviously also to do ministry continually. And so we want to get deeper all the time. Right? So using some of those questions and listening to their answers and creating a pathway for the next question, right? And discovering more and more and more. And I always tell adult volunteers, when you're asking questions, remember their answers. Remember what they're saying to you, because the next time you come in contact with them and you ask them, I rented that movie this week. I loved it. You remembered that, and that's huge for them.
Yeah. Big. So spend time with me, ask questions, discover who they are, and then what's the third cry of a student's heart?
Connect with me. Okay, connect with me. Again, coming somewhat back to that, I love what I'm all about, but they want to be able to share that with other people. Yeah. Okay, at the end of the day, just being about me isn't enough for a student. Yeah. They want to know there's a deep connection, and so connecting in areas that they love, but also connecting in areas that you love.
I find when a student teaches me something about a band, about a movie, about something they're interested in, a hobby, anything, the relationship goes deep really quickly. Yeah. So if they can teach me something, I got to humble myself, I got to listen, I got to really be excited. But if I do that, the relationship goes deep really quickly.
Yeah, I remember one time trying to ask questions of a student in the ministry, and I was getting nowhere, right? And it was just dead answers continually. And finally, I look at her shirt, and there's a horse on her shirt. And I'm like, oh, do you like horses? For the next 15 minutes, all we talked about was horses. I know nothing about horses. They're big animals, and I've ridden them a few times, and it's not comfortable, right? But I became super interested in horses, and I let her tell me all about horses and particular riding styles and all these things, and we connected over that.
And the next time you see her, you can talk about horses.
Right.
It gets you in the door, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So connecting on some of those things is huge.
Right. So we got spend time, discover, connect. What's the fourth cry of a student's heart?
Yeah, and this is really important, because I think a lot of times this is where we fall short. It's pursue me. Right? Yeah. In our day and age, like you said, time is our number one commodity. We have none of it. We're also more tied into technology than ever before. And so the idea that we would pursue a student beyond a text, beyond an Instagram, beyond any of those forms of technology is mind-blowing, right? Yeah. But if we do that, if we take it seriously, if we're calling them, if we're wanting to spend time with them, if we're sending a physical note in the mail.
It is my most effective tool I've ever used in youth ministry, is the short note.
Yeah, it's huge. And it shows a student that no matter what, you love them and you're going to continue to try to build that relationship. Even though they may be shutting the door to you what seems like all the time. I had a conversation recently with a youth pastor where he kicked the student out of the ministry after multiple warnings about his behavior. He had to say, I'm putting you on probation and you're not allowed to come. I talked to him the day after. He was heartbroken. But then we walked through, what does it look like for you still to pursue that student outside of the formal program? Yeah. And the kid kept shutting him down. Like, we kept talking over weeks, and finally the kid said, okay, you know what? Fine, let's hang out. And it showed that kid, it doesn't matter if you're in the formal program or not, I'm still going to pursue that relationship with you. And it's so vital and important because now he feels loved. And when a kid is loved, they're more likely to trust you and want you to take them through that discipleship journey.
Mm-hmm. This is awesome. So the 4 cries of a student's heart is...
Spend time with me.
Spend time with me.
Discover me.
Connect with me.
You got it.
Pursue me.
Yep.
I knew this. This is a great tool. This is what we teach, a lot of what we teach in our 101 course when we go to churches and we do adult volunteer training. This is a big part of the LeaderTreks ministry, actually, that I don't think a lot of people know about, but almost every weekend or every other weekend, we're in a church somewhere across the continental U.S. and we're training adult volunteers. It might be a group of 15, it might be a group of 50, but we've got some really cool interactive tools. We come and we do some really fun team building games that illustrate kind of this process of relationship building with students. We teach techniques and we do practical application. We actually do things where adult volunteers are actually practicing these relationship building techniques. Yep. Your adult volunteers can build relationships with students. We've seen it over and over and over again. We've worked with churches all across the country to help them be able to do this. If you'd ever be interested in us coming to your church and helping you develop your adult volunteer team, having that third voice, by the way, can be really helpful. We're going to say a lot of the same things you would say, but we're the guys from Chicago, and it makes a huge difference. I just know this from being a youth pastor as well, too. So give us a call. Give Dan a call. He would always love to be able to talk you through it. Thank you for watching this Trainingcast.
Really fast, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to correct one mistake. He said continental U.S. If anybody at a church in Hawaii or Alaska wants one of these two, I would be glad to come as well.
Yeah, I should have said that. Boy, yes. That Hawaiian training, I may,
take
myself because I'm going to just, use the old President Trump card. Anyhow, we'd love to help you. Give us a call. We're here. Thanks for watching this Trainingcast. We'll see you soon.